Okay, I think we are online. Can you see me? Can you hear me? All right. I think you can hear me. I hope. Please write a comment if you can see me, hear me, and everything is good. Okay. Perfect. It's great to see you. So yeah, first of all, welcome. Welcome in my room. So this is me, this is my room behind me, this is my piano, books, my headphones. I actually don't listen to anything right now. They are unplugged. I just want to look like a YouTuber. So yeah, and here you can see Photoshop and the work I will be talking about today. Okay, and then I want to have a small window here with your comments. And if you have any questions, any specific things you would like to know about, not necessarily it has to be about this work in particular, it can be about anything. So write me a question and I will answer, or I will focus on the thing you want to know. So yeah, let's move to the file. Okay, the question, if I upload the recording later, I think I will unless it will be so horrible, I will decide to just get rid of it. But I think, yeah, like by default, it will be available right away after the transmission is over. So yeah, great to see you. Great to see you. I can only see your comments. I cannot see you. So yeah, let's move to the Photoshop. And okay, it would be good if I could see your comments at the same time, but I'm using only one screen, so it's difficult. So every now and then I will just look at the comments and see if you have any questions. So yeah, this is Control, a recent work, and there is almost 100 layers. I mean, probably more than 100. And it's actually interesting thing I was thinking about when I think about my first work from this series, which is Deep Forest, the one with fish floating in the forest. That first picture, it has about 7 layers maybe, and this one has 150. I'm not even sure. And here is something I was thinking about. It's I would say it's kind of an artist curse, because when you are starting with something, you are usually at the beginning. You need very, very little to feel good about it. I created the first work, the Deep Forest. It was very simple. It had 7 layers, and after those 7 layers, I was just really happy, and I said, okay, I'm done. This is great work. And now I need 150 layers to have the same feeling, like to be able to say, okay, this is it. It's done. It's ready. And I wonder if I'm on some kind of path to infinity. Like with each work, it takes me more time. It has more details. it has more layers, and I wonder if there is an end to this process. And I think it's also a danger when you are an artist. With each next work, you know more. Your process is more complex, and it's dangerous because you can get stuck. Like, there may be a point when I will create one work for a year. It will be incredibly detailed, incredibly complex. But at the same time, if I will be creating it for a year, I will get bored. It'll be like, I don't know, it'll be just boring and exhausting to work on the same thing all the time. So yeah, seeing all those layers, it made me think about where is this actually going. So my works, when it comes to the process, it's actually a really messy process. Someone is saying hello. It's not messy, it's chaotic, and I would say it's very natural, because in each of my work is kind of growing. So if you look at this particular work, it actually evolved from a previous work, and the previous work evolved from the previous one, and so on and so on. So let's take a look at this work. This is actually a previous work I created, and this work actually evolved from this one. So first thing I did, I opened this work, I deleted the trees, I deleted the palm trees. So I just had clean landscape. I always have to start with something. I don't like to start with blank canvas, with empty file. I'm just using the same elements or different elements arranged differently over and over again. It's like I'm opening this, I'm deleting trees, and I'm trying to put different elements. And for example, I put this buffalo, and I say, okay, this is an interesting concept, and this is not yet a finished work. This is something I think of as a sketch. When I look at something like this, I'm like, okay, here is an idea. An idea is a little man sorry, meeting with this dark animal I created. You can see its eye. It's actually a skull, empty, like empty. I don't know how is it called, a place in a skull where you put an eye. And then from this it went to this, and actually at one of the final stages I put the light into the eye, and suddenly the buffalo became kind of a positive animal here. And actually I can turn off the light, and you can see it's more dark, like the story is different. So yeah, let's look if you have any questions. Glad to hear it's important to enjoy the road. It is. Definitely, you have to enjoy the road. So yeah, the road with this picture. Yeah, I don't even know where to start. But maybe let's start with, because there are kind of two roads we can go. We can go towards more technical stuff. So looking at all the layers, all the elements, but we can also go into more of thinking about different elements in case of the story I'm telling here, and symbols I'm using, and the reason behind the symbols. So yeah, what would you like? Probably everything. Like we need to know everything. So yeah, let's look at colors. Like you can see a very similar color palette in my works, and this color palette is actually, these are actually color filters I apply on the image. So the image itself, under all the filters, it's black and white. So these two groups of layers, this one is called adjustments, and in previous works in the past, this was the only adjustment group. But later, I think later I just doubled the adjustment group, and it turned out really good. And then I changed a little bit the second group, and now I'm using both groups. And these adjustments are something I basically copy to each new work. Or, okay, you have some questions. Will you be doing videos breaking down your other works in the series? Maybe. I don't know. If it depends. This live is like the first live I ever do. So I will see how it turned out, and if it turned out good, if it turned out you're interested, I will probably do more. Can you show us how to play around with colors? So this is how I play around with colors. Let me turn off both groups, and this is how the image really looks like underneath all the adjustment layers. So it's black and white. It's black and white, and you can see that the contrast is very low. And it's actually because I work with all those layers already turned on. And if you look, we have color lookup, which is basically a color filter, another color filter, another one. So 4 color filters, and also levels, 2 different layers, because I'm always layering everything. And if you have a filter with colors, like the first one is futuristic bleak, which gives a little bit of green. And if you apply levels to the color filter, it's different than applying levels under the color filter. So that's why I have one levels layer here and another above. So here is next filter. It's called Foggy Night, and it gives a little bit of this violet. Then we have another futuristic bleak. The first wasn't enough. Then we have crisp warm look, which is a little bit of warm looking. And then we have levels, which is basically making it more, it gives more contrast. So it's already good. That's why this first group is something I used in the past, but then it evolved. So there is a second group, and the second group is another color lookup, and it's again foggy night. Then we have again futuristic bleak. It's like a mix of everything. I'm just layering countless things, and it's always different than using one filter, and that's it. And it's also because my process is kind of growing, so I'm adding things, and everything I add is based. I need a base from the previous works, and I'm just letting it grow and grow and grow. So actually here is something interesting, because every next work have more layers, but the time spent on the work is not really that long, because like 60% of the color filters elements and 60% of the work is already there. I'm using a previous work. So here is another crisp warm look. It's basically doubling the previous group. Then we have hue saturation, and I took a little bit of the saturation, and on the top I add yellow layer, which is very, very subtle. It's the opacity is 34%, fill is 29. It's almost nothing, but it's something. If I take it to 100%, okay, you can see the change. Let's take it back to 34, and let's see your comments. Okay. I always wondered how much is drawing and what is based on photography. Okay, how much is drawing? Not much. Most of the elements are taken from different photographs, and what I actually draw is basically lights and shadows and some details, but there is not much of a painting. Do you use in your work other elements from realistic photos? For example, this buffalo, you draw him whole, or is it a photo? How can I access to those filters? So let me talk about filters first, because this is actually an easy question. So it depends on which version of Photoshop you have, probably, but basically color filters are down here, where you have different layers, levels, curve, exposure, and so on. You also have color lookup. So if you click color lookup, you have different filters here. So you have futuristic bleak you have crisp warm look, which I use, maybe not on 100%, and many other filters, and you can also download more of them. And yeah, about the buffalo. The buffalo is basically from a photo, and then I edited it a little bit, because you can see it has 4 horns. So if we go back to this one, this is pretty much the buffalo, just roughly cut out from the photo, and you can see its original horn here. which I then replaced with a different one, and I also added the big ones. You can also see that this buffalo is ending kind of it's kind of square. And I needed something more rounded. I wanted it to be going more smoothly into the ground, because as you can see, this buffalo is kind of merging with the rocks. So, and I'm not sure, I probably copied some other elements from a different pictures. Yes, I will save this live. Don't worry. So yeah, these are the first two groups, and they are all about managing color. You can also see there is some contrast on the top, and there is some contrast here, and this is very subtle. You don't really see it, but this is a group I have in every project. So two groups with color filters, then a layer with grain, because as you can see in my works, if you it's slowly because the files are really big, but all of my works have this analog grain, which I really like, and it's basically a layer that is on top of everything, which I created using some filters to generate the grain, because it's specifically analog grain, which is quite different from just noise. And then I also have a grid, which is basically a grid that helps me with composition. It's basic lines, like dividing in half. There is also a golden, how do you call it, like golden division, golden ratio, and few other lines. Yeah, and I'm using it to check the composition, and it's always funny to see, because I'm not aligning everything to the grid. I'm aligning everything according to my sense of good composition. And then I guess for my own satisfaction, I check it with the grid to see how good my sense of composition is. All right, how do you create the beam of light from the eye? All right, so let's start with the eye. And in the beam of light from the eye, you can actually see a little silhouettes. So in general, this situation here between the animal and the shaman here is about, you can say about conversation, about communication. So this buffalo is sending some information or knowledge or something towards the shaman, some stories from the past. And the beam of light is created very easily. Actually, most of techniques I'm using are very simple, are really basic stuff. So to create a nice beam of light, let me turn off the the little silhouettes. I'm not even sure where they are. Maybe this is it. No. Yeah, I have no idea. Oh, probably here. Let's turn this off. All right, most of them. We have some left. But if we go to the buffalo, where is the buffalo? Okay, here is the buffalo, and here is the eye. All right, so here is the eye. And if I want to create a light, I just take a brush, I make it white. I usually set the, how do you call it, like blending mode, to overlay, opacity very low, and you just paint, and that's it. You can create a very nice beam of light. Maybe it's too much. And then I will turn back on the small figures going out of the eye, and you can see the story is a little bit different. You can see the force of the message, of the information is changing, or dynamic of the communication is different. Yeah. What are the silhouettes? Oh, the silhouettes are actually, let me find them again. Okay, the silhouettes are actually cave paintings. Okay, this is a cave painting, and I don't remember exactly from which cave it is. I think it's from Australia. But the thing is, I think it's a good moment to tell a little bit about symbols, because I don't use symbols to tell you a specific thing. Or to put it differently, I don't use symbols to tell you something that can be put into words. It's more like I'm using symbols to make you feel a certain thing, or think about something, some concept. So if you have cave paintings from thousands of years ago going out from the eye, for me it's a story that makes me, or a symbol that makes me think about the past, about the ancestors. It's kind of an ancestral knowledge coming back to this person, to this shaman who is here, like in this communication. Also the same, because we have more symbols here. We have this hands and the bird with probably an egg. And this can again like expand the story, because the story here is about, I don't remember the quote exactly, but it was about controlling your fears. Like, if you know about something, you can control it. So you have to face your fear and accept it, and then you can control it and you can use its power. So you have this shaman who is communicating somehow with this animal. He's seeing the animal, and because of that, the animal is not attacking him, but is communicating with him. So it's a topic about, first of all, about controlling something, but controlling something is also giving you, I would say it gives you freedom. And the bird, for me, can be a symbol of freedom. But under the bird you can also see an egg, and an egg is starting something. It's similar to a seed. You plant a seed and then it's growing. But there is not there is no clear symbol of a seed. That's why it's better to use an egg. And you can also think about it like you have this person here on the right, and on the left you have marks of hands, which can also be a symbol of the situation, that between you and freedom there is something you have to face. And if I look at the hands, it makes me realize or think about people who did the same thing before me. So it gives me hope. Okay, let's look at the chat. Very cool. Thanks for sharing. Thank you for listening. I'm actually surprised to see so many comments, and yeah, how many people are watching? I'm not sure where to see this information. Okay, about 32, and then it dropped down. All right, who or what is your source of inspiration? I don't have a clear inspiration. Yeah, let me put it like this. What you see here is similar to a way the inspiration works for me. So the inspiration is like a message sent to me, but this message is not put into words. So those silhouettes, it might as well be an inspiration going towards the person. But I think I find inspiration in making things. It's not like first you have to find inspiration and then you create. It's like inspiration is born out of creating, out of taking action. So the inspiration is born usually when I create. So if we come back to the beginning, so this was the previous work, which is also evolution of the one from the past. I deleted the palm trees, I put in the buffalo, and I think about this moment when I put the buffalo, and it formed some kind of relation between the buffalo and the person. This is when inspiration is born. So this is when I get inspired and I say, okay, there is something to it. Let's explore. like the story is born. And when the story is born, then it's similar to creating music. Like if you improvising, then from time to time you find a melody that is good because of something, because of feeling it gives you, and you say, okay, this is good, let's work on it. And then you work on it, or maybe rather you work around it. So this is your base, this melody, and you explore different areas around it, and this is an inspiration. So first you have to just improvise, just do something until you find this melody. And when you find the melody, then you explore everything around. Can you turn off all the layers and slowly build up the art from the bottom, one layer at a time? It's not so easy because the layer, they are also not organized like in order. It's kind of messy, but let's try to turn off something. Okay, where were we? Because if I turn off everything, it'll be difficult, because by default I have some layers turned off here. And if I start turning them on, it will get messy. But let's delete the layer with the light I created. Okay. It actually looks really good with that light. But that's because this is also interesting, that probably right now I would say at the moment, I have a stronger connection with you can say source of inspiration. So I like the stronger light. But when I was creating this picture, I was probably in a place where my connection with inspiration was weaker. I was looking for it. So at the time, the weaker light was the right choice. So I won't turn off everything, but I can turn off the buffalo. And even if I turn off the buffalo, there are still some elements left here. So this. Okay, those 4 layers. I just mark them blue so I remember. So let's build the buffalo from the bottom up. Okay, so the first layer, actually the first layer that you cannot see is a photo of a cow. And this is a cow from which I borrowed the horns, which is actually also pretty interesting. The cow. Maybe it's too big. But if we make it smaller, let's turn off the horn. If we make it smaller, and then let's make it bigger. This is actually an interesting thing, because I usually work looking at the artwork like that. So it's very small, because I can see the whole picture, the whole composition. I don't really like to work like that, having full screen, unless I'm working on details. But when it comes to putting elements into the picture, I usually take a photograph and then I make it less. Yeah, I need less contrast. And probably I would also erase it from the bottom to lose it in the smoke. And then you have to like mask it because you want to erase the things that are in the back but leave the things that are in the front. And you can make it fit the overall contrast. But okay, let's just get rid of the cow and let's build the buffalo. So we have a little horn at the back, then we have a buffalo without any horns, like the original horn is erased. And if we take the buffalo, let's take it up, you can see it has legs, and it also had this extended back to make it look good. Then we have a little bit of light on the top. Then we have his nose, because the original nose was, okay, where is the nose? Yeah, I just added new nose to have more contrast. Then the next layer is I'm not sure what it is. Okay, an eye. Then we have a glowing eye, probably. No, then we have an eye I didn't use, the one from the skull, and it's actually right here, down here right now, so we don't need it. Then we have light in the eye. Yeah, then we have, I'm not sure what. Okay, then we have the light I added a while ago. Then we have a big horn, the first one, the second one. Then we have a little one right here. Then we have light on the horns. It's like a separate layer. Oh, I moved the little horn. It should be here. All right. So the light is also just an overlay, and this is something I just paint by hand. And another interesting thing is I'm actually using mouse for pretty much everything I do. I have a tablet, but it's not really. I had some problems with drivers, and it was just kind of impractical, so I switched back to using mouse. And then we have a texture, the rock texture on the buffalo, and then we have some light again, some darks and brights, and then we have like a little bit of hair down here. It's like a small, very small detail, and then we have rocks on the back, and these rocks are actually taken from a photo from a coast. with low opacity, and yeah, I'm basically just masking it, and then I can paint. So I can make it lighter, or I can make it stronger wherever I want. So it's actually cool because I have control on how I want it to look. So let's take it back, and then we also have right here on the buffalo, we have more of this little man cave paintings, more of a story going on. And yeah, that's the buffalo. He also have like a little, let's turn it on, okay, like a little stripe right here. It's just a little detail. So yeah, there is a question: any advice for people struggling with artist's block? Actually, I was recently watching David Lynch answering that question, and he said that there is no such thing as artist's block unless you believe in it. And it's kind of true. It's kind of true, and he said that it's similar like going fishing. You just go and you fish, and sometimes you catch something and sometimes you don't. So the most important thing is to go fishing. And sometimes there are days when I just turn on some project and I just mess around and just moving elements, and I don't have this feeling, this click, like this is it, okay, I have an idea, but I'm just fishing. So the advice for people struggling with artist block is to realize that there is no such thing as artist block. I mean, artist block is blocking yourself from going fishing because you think you have to catch something every time. Something like that. And yeah, when you work, do you listen to music? Or maybe you like to work in silence? I like both. It depends on the mood, but when I listen to music, it's usually very, very, I would say, ambient music, something very, very calm, or something with nature sounds. Or I just work in silence, which is also really, really good. So yeah, let's take a look again at the picture, because yeah, we looked at the color layers, we looked at the symbols, we looked at the light, at the little silhouettes. We can also look at the landscape. Let me turn off the buffalo for a moment to clear the landscape. This is the landscape, and actually this is already interesting idea, interesting story. We can also turn off the shaman. Oh, it's not the shaman. Okay, the shaman is here. So let's turn him off. And you have another interesting story. You can take this light and move it here. And then you can, for example, take those cave drawings. Can't find them again. Okay, here. And let's move them. I'm trying to move. Okay, yeah. Let's move them here. All right. Then we have, okay, we have this little thing, but it's already starting to be something like it's a landscape where something is about to happen, and this is basically me fishing, trying to find something. I could take this shaman, take the opacity down and put it somewhere at the back, maybe barely visible, maybe smaller, like that. And we are already starting a new story here, which is exactly how I work. This is something my process is based on pretty much all the time. But coming back to landscape, the landscape is pretty much complete chaos. For example, this little group, it's a group that was connected with this little man from the previous work. So when you look at this picture, this little man cast a light around. And I deleted the man, but this grass that was lit by the man fits really good in here, so I decided to leave it. So this is basically how I work. I just take different elements from different places, and they are just layering. There are so many different layers here. Okay, here are this little sticks, for example. I wanted to create a feeling like there is some kind of, you can say, a ritual space, like this is something important, something that has some symbols. This is not an ordinary place. This is a place where you go to face your fears or face something you have inside of you. I also have a layer because I use a lot of smoke and fog and stuff like that. So this is the whole group with a smoke in different places. So you can see the smoke moving around. I'm just putting it wherever I need. Basically, if I want to hide something, I just use smoke. If I turned off the smoke, this is what we see. And it's also different layers, and it could be one layer of smoke, but I'm usually just copying the same smoke and using different parts of the same smoke and layering them. And then I end up with like 10 different layers that I have to group. But then I can take this group and move it, for example, to this picture. But this picture is already flattened, so so it doesn't really work because we don't have the color layers. But if we put it on overlay, then maybe, yeah. So we have a smoke, but the smoke is huge. It's so big here. So let's make it smaller. And let's see how it will change this picture. I'm not sure if it's changing at all. Okay, there is something. This is also a really cool way to do an animation. You just move the smoke around and the picture is alive. But I've never done something like that. I don't know how. So yeah, let's look at the landscape. So the landscape is created out of many elements like this one. So I take this from a photo, then I put it in the place I want to have it, like here, and then I'm just masking it to fit the environment. And again, I can just use a regular brush to just put details from this picture to the front, or just erase it, and after it there is another layer with different stones and different arrangement of elements. So this is pretty much how I work. Like under one layer there is another, so I'm kind of, how do you say it, like, you know, one layer comes up from under the another one. I can turn it off and or move somewhere else. For example, I can move it around to the left and then start to bring it up, but probably right now it's under another layer, so I would have to move it up to here. Okay, and I have it, and it also looks interesting, so I could just start erasing it a little bit and then leave this part. And this is how the landscape is changing, or maybe move it up here, or maybe flip it and put it here. I basically have hundreds of different elements. Sometimes it's even like a single stone I'm moving around. Or let's go back to the beginning, or some small elements, like for example here you might have missed it, because on Instagram the pictures are quite small, but here you have this face, you have a mask, which is also telling a story, which is not specific story, it's more about metaphoric story, like there is some kind of ancestor under the big rock, like story from the past that is not gone. It's written somewhere, but it doesn't use words, it uses images, it uses feelings. Same here. Here you have the face on the left, you have bones, And from these bones you go up and you have people who were here before, and then you have this bird, the symbol of freedom, and the egg, a symbol of something new, and there is one more face above the bird. Also you have, at the bottom you have three, how do you call it, animal tracks. This is wolf, so the wolf was coming here. So I like to put many different stories in a picture, so you could basically explore. And I'm not trying to tell you a specific story, I'm trying to make you explore an area around a certain concept, like around the concept of facing your fear or communicating with something that is deep inside of you, or the idea of facing something to get to freedom, idea of taking control over your life, or some problems you have. Okay, another question. Are the photos stock art or your originals? It's both. It's both. Some of the pieces are just stock. I use just websites like Unsplash where you can download free stock photos, very high quality, like this buffalo. But some of the pictures are my own pictures. Usually when I go hiking, I go to the mountains, I take a lot of pictures of just random elements, like, oh, this stone in the grass is great. I'm just running around and I'm taking photos which are, if you look at them as a photographer, they are just shitty, like. But for me it's like collecting elements. I'm going and I'm like, oh, this is great stone, this is great tree, oh, this is such a cool palm tree or grass, and then I'm using those elements, but many of the elements are just stock photos. So the thing is to do things in the easiest way possible, because I could paint everything here, but it's also a topic that is connected with the style of creating. Like every artist or every creating person has his or her own style, and my style is basically doing what I'm doing. So I need to have like hundreds of elements and I'm moving them around looking for something. And also when I was playing music, I used to be a DJ for a while, and being a DJ is basically the same thing. You create a collage, you have like ready elements and you arrange them to create something new. And this is the same thing. I'm not a creator, I'm more of a rearranger. And of course I am creator as well, but if I think about styles of creativity, styles in which you can create art, there are people who have, for example, like when they are starting to create new work, they have very vivid imagination, like they know how they want it to look like. They have the picture in their head, and they can take blank canvas or piece of paper and just draw it or paint it, and if I have a blank piece of paper or canvas or a file in Photoshop, I can't do pretty much anything. I'm kind of lost. I need something to rearrange it, to change it. So of course you have to start somewhere, but sometimes I start with these pictures, with this series. I just start with some of old projects I've never finished, or just previous picture, or a picture from the past. I take it and I start to change it. I change the situation, and sometimes at the end the picture is completely different. Like I replace all the elements. But I need this process of replacing. And if I have to start with something, I usually start with basically anything. It doesn't really matter. I just start with some random elements. I put some random elements in the picture, and I'm talking about different works, not from this series, but just some random graphic works. When I do something, just improvising, I have to just start with a set of elements. I need to see something, and then I start to change it, rearrange it, and at the end I may catch an idea, or maybe don't. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So yeah, most elements you can see here are not painted by me. I'm just using what's already there. Okay, let's look at the layers for a moment. I think if there is anything interesting here, for example, here I have the hands, and the hands are also something I used before. This is something I took from another picture, and the hands, this is also a group, and you have more of these hands. If I turn all of them on, you can probably see them somewhere. I have no idea where. Okay, here they are on the left. So there are more, but I decided to leave 3 of them, because there is also something in the number 3 or 3 elements. There is also some interesting, I would say, interesting communication, interesting relation between 3 elements, and in many of my works you have 3 elements. Just like here, you have the light in the hand of the shaman, then you have the eye, and then you have the egg of the bird. And this is some kind of communication between those 3 elements. So there is a starting point, or maybe the starting point is the egg actually. So from the egg, the information or a story goes to the eye, and from the eye it goes to the shaman, and you can see this light, and maybe this light is the same thing as the egg, like this is actually the egg. This is what I like about these pictures, that I create them in a way that they make me think. So I'm not always sure what the story is about, sometimes I create a specific story or situation, and I have this feeling like, okay, this is right, this is it. But on the level of thoughts, of mind, I have no idea what the story is about. And the story kind of unfolds after some time. So the things I'm telling you right now is basically me exploring this artwork. And maybe that's why I chose this particular artwork, because I don't yet know the exact meaning. And maybe the meaning is connected with the egg and the process of the information going to this receiver. And the receiver is also something connected again with some other stories, or you can say specific culture, because this is a shaman from Siberia. And Siberia is basically a place where all the shamanism is coming from Siberia. So this is also a place where something was born. So we are going back to the idea of the egg. And yeah, those stories are just never ending. So it's really, really difficult to stop at some time. But yeah, I think we are going to stop the transmission soon, unless you have some more questions, because this whole live I'm doing today, it's kind of me testing this way of communicating with you, this way of spending time together, the way of seeing that you are a real person reacting to what I say. So if you have any questions, this is a good time. And maybe we didn't explore so many of the technical aspects, but most of the elements are just different elements on different layers. So there is not so much tricks or some special kind of techniques. It's more about creating chaos at the beginning, and then trying to put it into order. But you need chaos first. I mean, I need chaos first. Maybe you don't. You can have a different way of creating different kind of creative mind. Maybe you just create, or maybe not. I think if you have different kind, you just, the stage of chaos is also happening in your mind. You just do it before. I just do it outside. You can do it inside. So so yeah, thank you for sharing how you create art with us. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. How do you harmonize different symbols into one story? That's a very interesting question. I mean, the first answer I have in my mind is I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, you can harmonize it on the visual level, but you can also harmonize it on the level of, I don't know, on a deeper level. But I think on a deeper level, you don't have to harmonize anything. I think on a deeper level, everything is harmonized. Everything is the way it should be, and everything works perfectly. The problem begins on the layer of thoughts. When you have this perfectly harmonized, let's say, story, or perfectly harmonized soul, or let's stick with that. Something is perfectly harmonized, then it goes through your mind, and your mind is is basically creating chaos, more or less. And then you have to deal with the chaos. So I try to deal with the chaos listening to the heart. So I'm trying to listen to this initial harmony rather than artificial harmony of the mind, because harmony of the mind is based on some rules created by the mind. It's not very natural. So a different way of putting it into words is, you can think about it this way. When I create something, it's like I try to create a reflection of something that is behind me. I'm not sure what is behind me. I have no idea what it is. But if the reflection is right, I can feel instant connection. And looking at the pictures, I'm just rearranging those elements. And at one moment it just clicks, and I'm like, yeah, this is the reflection of something I have deep inside of my mind or heart. This is the emotion, because this is something I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a story that you can tell. I'm looking for the story, but on the level of emotions. So this story is created out of emotions, not out of words or some narration. It's just, he's just looking for this specific arrangement of elements that gives you an emotion you're trying to express. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining me in my experimental show and going live for the first time. This is actually first live ever I'm doing. So a big step. Big experiment. So have a nice day, everyone. And this live should be available right away, hopefully. So maybe someone will watch it later. It's kind of long and chaotic, but this is basically my creative process. I start with something, then I move to another thing. I'm just all over the place. So I'm very happy. It was interesting, and I think I can go live again soon. Maybe answering some questions, maybe gathering questions before, and then going live to answer them. I'm not sure. I'm open to your suggestions. I was hoping for something like this forever. Man, good to hear it. Really good to hear it. yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And let me know what would you like in some next live, and I will probably go live again. It wasn't as bad as I thought. So so yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Goodbye. And I wish you a lot of inspiration. Thank you.